Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Jay's Fit Down Podcast. I'm your host, Jade, and today we're going to be previewing Conference Championship Weekend here in the NFL. Of course, that is set in stone. Chiefs and the Ravens, 49ers, and the Detroit Lions for the first time in a long time will be in the NFC Conference Championship with the opportunity to go play in the Super Bowl, which will be in Las Vegas in just 3 weeks from now. So, a lot to get into with that and some other news, some other coaching news going on around the NFL as well. So, give you guys updates on that. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check us out here on YouTube, and we're also on every audio podcast platform that is available. So make sure you check us out. Follow us on the socials, Jay's Fit Down Pod on IG, Twitter, TikTok as well. So make sure you check us out on all those platforms. But yeah, so like I said, championship weekend, the Buffalo Bills once again met against the Chiefs in the playoffs, and once again they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. And it was interesting because Buffalo had a good game plan. It seemed like just everything wasn't really falling in piece. Josh Allen played a great game. It's just other things that kept coming up. Everybody on the team didn't make plays that they need to make. Now that was the mainstay that I noticed. But he played great. And it's always fun to watch those two play. Each other. On in the playoffs, and Mahomes, Allen. I mean, it's cinema. Well, it is. Until Taylor Swift starts dating people in the Chiefs, and then it's just becomes blown out of proportion. But that's a story for another day. But yeah, I enjoyed the game. Like I said, the Bills had a good game plan. They were trying to be physical, run the football like they've been doing pretty successfully throughout the latter part of the year. Unfortunately, they just couldn't get over the hump, and that was the final dagger that got drove into their chest there. And Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and now you could blame it on the kicker who missed that field goal that could have tied it up, sent overtime, blah blah, all you want. But at the end of the day, one sole person is not responsible for an entire game. Football doesn't work like that. Team sports do not work like that. That's just the way it is. One player is not solely responsible for a team's outcome, whether it be a win or a lose. No matter if they scored the game-winning touchdown or if they, threw a game-winning, threw the game-losing interception or missed the potential game-time field goal that could have sent you to overtime at your place. At your stadium with the opportunity to get to the AFC Championship. So, and Tyler Bass, who was the Bills kicker, deactivated all his social media because he was getting death threats, which I thought was really crazy. Like, people people are really just like, I mean, they take sports, very seriously, made too seriously. Like, that's just really crossing the line. Like, why are you threatening this man and his family like that over a missed kid? Like, I mean, people, it's. We live in a very interesting world, guys. But again, that's a whole other podcast. That's a whole other different type of podcast. Maybe not Pursuing Excellence podcast, which if you haven't, check that out and subscribe to it. But my thing is, for the Bills, this has just been an occurrence year after year after year. I mean, they make it to this point, like the divisional or the wild card, and they just cannot get it done against the Kansas City Chiefs. And at some point, I don't know what has to happen, but they have to figure it out. They just have to figure it out. I mean, Josh Allen is now in his it's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 20. Yeah, he's like going into his fourth or fifth year in the league, and he's yet to beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. He's yet to get to the AFC Championship since the 2020 season, which he lost to, again, the Chiefs. So the Bills have a lot of questions to answer. Stephon Diggs, what's going to happen with him? I mean, he was a non-factor in the game as well, and he had a potentially big catch that he could have made that at a specific point in the game. It was about a 70-yard or so throw. Josh Allen put it like right on money, maybe not right on money, but it was a very good ball placement, and it went right through Diggs' hands. So little things like that, it can always, like, football is a game of inches. It's a game of increments, and these small plays have big impacts. And that's something like that. It has a huge impact because you miss that play, that's a potential gain of 70 yards that you just miss out on the chance, the opportunity to score. So that's another one of those things right there. And for Stephon Diggs, a lot of talk's been going around. Is he going to get traded? Could he go to the Cowboys and join his brother? or any other team. I don't know. We'll see. But since Diggs is coming up, the meme of him standing like, what was I think it was the 2020 AFC Conference Championship. It was the meme of him standing on the Chiefs' field, looking at the trophy celebration. He's just standing there like this, which has turned into a very popular meme the last like 4 years. And some people were saying he's yet to move from that spot. And he hasn't. Yeah, it's right. He has not moved from that spot. Stephon Diggs has stayed in that same pose for the last 4 or 5 years. Yet to lift up that trophy. Whether it be the AFC Conference champion trophy or a Lombardi trophy. And so, will the Bills? The Bills are one of those teams. They just aren't a Super Bowl team. They just aren't. They're not that type of team that they play good in the playoffs. They play good in the regular season, but it's like, when they meet Big Brother Kansas City, they just can't get it done. And it's like at some point you have to be able to get it done. If you have to. And so, how long is it before we start talking about Sean McDermott and the Bills and Josh Allen? Like, yeah, he had a great season, but well, he had his moments in the season. And they changed the offensive coordinators, in the middle of the year too, moving on from Ken Dorsey, and they got Joe Brady in there. But I don't know, man. It's like one of those things where the Bills just have to figure it out. They're gonna have to figure it out at some point. So we'll see what they do. But meanwhile, the Kansas City Chiefs will be playing Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore next Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, the 28th. And this will be the first time that the AFC Championship game has not been in Kansas City in a minute. So this will be back at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. So I'm really interested to see how that goes. I think for the Ravens, what you do what you've been doing all year. Be physical, run the football. The Chiefs, defense is good, but they have their weak lapses like all teams do. They have their weak spots. Every team has a weakness. Every player has a weakness. So if the Ravens can exploit those weaknesses and be physical, run the football, Lamar Jackson make plays when he's there. But if they try to contain him, he's going to have to be able to stand in there in that pocket and deliver the ball down the field to Zay Flowers and Odell. Mark Andrews. I'm not sure if he's going to play, but to his tight ends, to Isaiah Likely. I'm hoping for him to have a big game as well. The tight end spot, they're going to need him to have a big game. So that's what I'm looking for in the AFC Championship game. And I'm sticking with my picks that I got, that I had made earlier in the year, the Ravens and the 49ers in the Super Bowl. And I'm sticking with that. I don't think Kansas City is going to beat Baltimore. I really don't believe they will. Baltimore's at home. I mean, they're just playing at a different level this year. So I think that's just going to come into play. And the Chiefs season will end short in the AFC Championship game. Moving on to the NFC side of things. This is where it gets interesting. So the Bucks and the Lions play in the divisional round, and the Bucks, unfortunately, lost Baker Mayfield, who, by the way, let me say this, I hate on Baker sometimes, but he had a great season this year, and Tampa Bay, if they don't bring him back, they're like really foolish if they don't bring him back, because at this point, what other better options do you have out there to get as far at the quarterback position? So, every team pretty much has their guy on locks, at least the good quarterbacks that'll get you a chance to to compete in the playoffs. They're already on their respective teams. So the Tampa Bay is in one of those situations where you have a quarterback in Baker who's been there a couple, with Cleveland, of course, and here in Tampa with the playoffs. He's got that kind of he can rip the ball down the field. He's got that fiery edge to him, and he's a guy that the players like to be around. So if you're the Buccaneers, yeah, keep him. Why not? Keep him there, bring him back to Tampa Bay, and try to compete for the playoffs again next year. But the Lions, however, were able to get this win. So Jared Goff is back in the NFC Championship game. His second time being back there. Obviously, was with the Rams, went there when he was a quarterback, and then with the Super Bowl, a couple years ago against the Patriots. So he's now back in the NFC Championship game going against Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. This game is going to be very intriguing. I honestly have said this all year. I said that the Lions were probably the only team in the NFC to give the 49ers any type of trouble, or really any of the major heavyweights in the NFC, which really wasn't many of them, if you're being honest, this year, other than like Philly and Well, I can't even say Philly because they got smoked by Tampa Bay. So really, just San Francisco. They're like the Lions and the 49ers were pretty much the only like teams in the NFC that at least in the latter half of the season, I trusted to make it to the playoffs and do good in the playoffs. Like any of the other teams, Philadelphia they just completely went off the rails. You fired both the offense coordinator and their defense coordinator already. So I mean, that's just one of those things how it's going to go with Philly. And then you look at Dallas. That I already did a video on that, so you guys can go to my channel and check out the video on the Cowboys. So I'm not going to even say anything about that. Just check it out. I gave my in-depth analysis of the Cowboys and their situation, what they need to do, which everybody knows in the world what they need to do, except for the people within the Cowboys themselves, apparently. Um, but yeah, I think this is going to come down to who's going to be more physical, who's going to be able to run the football. We always say that, but Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery are going to have a big game for the Lions. Like they got to get that ground game going. Ben Johnson does a great job using those two running back sets, and which is part of why I want him here as a head coach in Atlanta. But again, that's different. But yeah, they do a great job using those two running back sets, and they just signed Zach Ertz, to the practice squad, because some of their backup tight ends have been injured. Brock Wright has been injured, so Sam Laporta is going to play as usual, but they signed Zach Ertz for insurance for to be backup, so he's back in the playoffs. And it's crazy. Like I remember Zach Ertz was so like he was one of the like top tight ends in the league like some years ago, like when he was in Philadelphia, especially the year they went to the Super Bowl, and like the year after that or so. Like he was really good. He was putting up numbers in Philly, and then after that, he just vanished. Like he went to Arizona, had like a decent season after he got traded there, like kind of decent, like 600 yards, 100 yards, a couple touchdowns. That's it. And after that, he just fell off. Like and now he's got signed back to the Detroit Lions practice squad, so he's gonna have an opportunity to play in the NFC Championship game, which is very, very interesting. A bit even more funny if it was against the Eagles, but we all knew that wasn't gonna happen. So yeah, I mean, like I said, for San Francisco, for them to win, they're just going to have to Brock Purdy's and to keep doing what he's doing. Getting the ball to George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel. From what I'm hearing, is 50-50 on whether he's gonna suit up or not. So I don't know if he's going to play for sure. Most likely he's going to, but if not, then the Lions are going to have to take advantage of that. They're going to take advantage of that. If he doesn't play, they're going to take advantage of that because that's one less offensive weapon on the field. You just now have to worry about Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle, right? Heck, even Jawan Jennings, throw him in there, whoever. But that's one less weapon you have to worry about. But for the most part, for San Francisco, run the football. They got to be able to run the ball too. They're going to have to get pressure like they always do. Get pressure on Goff. Get them, get them uncomfortable early, get some sacks, force them out of, keep them, from crossing midfield, so that's what they're going to have to do. Get there, make sure the 49ers are going to have to make sure they keep their eyes on Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Wood. Like the Lions have a very good young receiving core coming up. I'm really excited to see how that's going to happen within the next couple of years, like how they're going to turn out. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown turned out to be a great player for them. He was picked, I believe, in like the 4th or 5th round, if I'm not mistaken. And he has been amazing, over 1,000 yards this year. So receiving, I mean, he's had a great year. He's gotten better every year. He's been in the league. You got Jameson Williams, who's coming back now, is from his injury year. There was last year he missed all of last year, or like most of last year with the injury, the ACL, and he's back. So now he's back. and out there for Detroit, and you get Sam Laporta. Like I really like the Lions. I really like the Lions roster. I love what they've done this year. I love how far they've gotten, how they've shut everybody up, and just the mindset and the mentality that Dan Campbell, the vibe that he's built there in Detroit, just playing hard, being physical, running to the football on defense. Reading your keys and offensively just moving the ball, down the field, and being physical, like I said. However, this is the roadblock that that they come up to, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers have been here before. They've been in the Super Bowl before. It was a couple years, so they know what it takes to win these types of games. And at the end of the day, I think I'm going to take that over the Lions. So yeah, I mean, I'm sticking with my picks. I'm not changing them. I got San Francisco winning this game and going to the Super Bowl to play Baltimore in Las Vegas, Super Bowl 58. So that's my kind of conference championship weekend preview. So you take with that what you will. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Do you think the Ravens are going to win, or the Chiefs? Do you think the Chiefs can go into Baltimore and get a win and go to their fourth Super Bowl in 5 years? And do you think that the Lions have a chance to potentially upset San Francisco and head to their first Super Bowl? So it's going to be exciting. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you think in the comments. But like I said, moving on here, Jim Harbaugh, just some coaching news around the league. Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers seem to be within striking distance of making a deal for him to be the next head coach. So potentially a move could be made tomorrow or very soon, maybe today. I don't know. Very soon for him to be the next head coach at the Chargers, and he would, if he got the job, reportedly would bring Jesse Minter, defense coordinator, and Jay Harbaugh, his son, to the coaching staff. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes if he does. So obviously every year he is one of the more, sought after coaching candidates, and so it looks like he's going to get to the NFL for once, and get back to the NFL and coach. Other news: Brian Callahan, former offensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals, got hired by the Tennessee Titans to be their next head coach. Interesting. We'll see how that goes. And the Atlanta Falcons, who have been in the talks about, with the coaching circle with Bill Belichick and stuff like that. Apparently, the talks have cooled down between those two sides. So Atlanta is still doing their searching heavily on coaching candidates. They're doing a lot more interviews and expect those to pick up after the playoffs are over, or after some of these teams get bounced in the playoffs. Like if say the Lions lose, I'm sure they'll have another interview with Ben Johnson, who's offensive coordinator, who I would love to have here as a head coach. So we'll see what happens. But guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Sit Down Podcast. I'm your host Jay, and thank you for watching and listening, however you're doing this. And like I said, comment your thoughts. Give me your predictions for championship weekend and for the Super Bowl. And we will see you next time.